Hey, who was that? The '90s calling to say they want that sweater back?
That's a different way of saying that joke.
I was just astonished. It's almost like I want to investigate. Like, so who wrote this joke? So I know to never speak to them. I mean, it's just shit like that. I'm just astonished. Either that's genius because they know that no one could possibly miss that as a joke, though it's not really a joke, but that you would choose to pull something so deep inside the hatchet-filled hack bin and go, got it.
Yeah, there's a way of sort of bringing it up. It never makes you popular, but I've used it, and I don't think it's got me any farther in life. But it's just like, it always, I'll say if after a thing like that, I'll go, it always worries me when I hear a joke that we know isn't ours.
Right.
I don't mind, whether or not it works as a joke isn't my argument. We know it's not our property.
Yes.
And that bothers me.
The thing that bothers me is it's not personal to the show, like you said.
It's not whether or not that joke works. I'm talking about it's not ours.
Right. It's not personal to the show. It's not even trying. Because now we've got this character that has a personality. So can't we have him? And plus, why am I trying to make a joke? I've never done that. Make a joke? Am I taking a class?
Yeah, you're
at
supposed
Second
to be
City?
you. Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Am
The
I
guy
trying-
who has a million jobs, the guy who does all this stuff.
Right. I'm taking classes at Second City, just so you know. And the 90s are still waiting to hear. Whatever. But something. But my next line, so a man has died. Okay, I find that information out. His buddy died, gang member. Sweatpants walks in, and he's having a great day. And so Franco can't tell him.
He doesn't want to bum him out.
He doesn't want to bum him out. I got this, buddy. And the audience automatically goes, oh, because I'm going to take care of it. Said, hey, Sweatpants, the 90s called. Turns out Bam Bam's dead. Works every time.
How'd the audience go with this?
Oh.
And it's stuck around? It's in.
No, then they changed it to,
Okay, good.
you got to ease into it. Hey, Sweatpants, how you doing? Good. Yeah, Bam Bam's dead. I mean, it's things like that that give me worry.
I got this coffee. Thank you.
If that's what we're gonna do, is really not only if we're not floating to the bottom, but we're paddling to the bottom. That worries me.
Yeah, you're not in a race, exactly. It's not like you're trying to make it bad, but it's just, why are we taking up any bandwidth with jokes that we know don't belong to us? When someone writes, said no one ever, or when someone writes, the someone called, they want their something, or anything, Mick, anything.
Yes.
You just go, listen, that's space that now cannot be occupied by one of our ideas.
And here's what poor Anna
How
Borshnikov has
How
to
much space will we fence off from ourselves?
Yes.
To fill with ideas. If it's 12% of the show or 32% of the show, I want to know what the level is going to be. Are we going to go with about 12% of the show that we know we'll never be able to affect? Why wouldn't we 100% want to affect our show?
Even more.
And it's very cheap, like lazy writing.
Lazy.
Anything from hell, anything like that. It's just.
That's like a
my
basic.
thing. It's not that it's lazy. I know why they're doing it. It's work. They're working to satisfy the expectations of the network.
Yes.
And that's work. That actually takes work. You have to think about which used joke you want to use. Like, if you have to retrofit someone's home and they won't pay for new equipment, you're the one that has to go out and find which used part you're going to use to do it, that you're going to employ. I mean, that takes skill. So there's a certain skill in deciding which retrofitted joke you're going to use, which reused joke you're going to employ. That's a skill.
And so
but it's a pointless one.
Well, that might be part of the genius of why these shows make it. It's why is The Big Bang the most popular show on television? Mm-hmm. It doesn't challenge the viewer, and in fact invites the dumbest viewer to go, yes, we're not going to leave you behind. That might be the strategy.
True
Just
enough.
dumb.
But it's also why they continue to
Hey,
disappoint.
you with your mouth open. We got something for you.
I don't know if that was a perfect analogy or anything, but I'm just trying to say, like, I think that's work. But it's the wrong kind.
I from someone like seasoned like you, I'm like, okay, because from the outside it seems like, oh man, you could try a little bit harder. And
I will tell you, from being not in a episodic network room, but in an episodic cable room, that when these things would float up, it's like we'd all just go, yeah, okay, but wait a minute, why, right? Why should we use it? It's not ours. I mean, what do you think, guys? Like, should we just not use it because it's not ours? And people generally on the shows I've been on are like, yeah, let's not use it and let's wait for someone to complain.
Yeah.
And so we'd toss it.
Wow.
But they come in. I will tell you this. Oftentimes, especially from this is a good staff they have. I mean, there's some capable people on this staff.
Well, there are, and I
But
don't
their
think
drafts, the drafts do not include these jokes.
Right.
If you had access to their first drafts, you would not see "Said No One Ever" and "From Hell." You wouldn't see it. Those get included by non-writers.
Ouch.
I don't know. Well, I know that those
Or
were
head writers.
head writers. I would say
And this is a conservative group he's
these
dealing
are
with.
these are head writers that I would not probably. Someone has told me. I don't think I would have a conversation with them at a party because I'd be like, Jesus Christ, you know, I wouldn't hire them to write anything for me. It'd be like, oh, I can't use that. Well, that's bad. So, but these are people that know exactly how to play this game and are fine with embracing and making out with mediocrity and even sub-mediocrity, whatever's below that. Poverty? Okay.
Yeah.
Let's don't
No,
occupy
You
any
know,
more
but
time.
this is I'm learning a lot.
I'm learning a lot. Okay.
So we'll just take you through. We're just gonna throw some stuff out there. It'll be mostly about Beer Shark, but we'll just.
A lot of gotcha stuff coming on.
Lot of-
A
yeah.
lot of it. Yep.
A lot of gotchas.
Laying
But
it
feel
away.
free to talk about
Why does
whatever
Kevin
you
have a
want.
briefcase?
Oh.
You saw the roof? Wasn't supposed to happen.
No. You ready
Shoot.
to go? Let's do this. All right, we're on. All right. We do the intros beforehand. So.
Okay.
So I wanted to ask a question that you might not know, but we're going to ask it anyways. Do you remember your first show as Beer Shark Mice?
First show.
Ever as Beer Shark Mice?
No, I don't. I know where it was.
Where was it?
Where was it?
In on Santa Monica Boulevard, near Cole or Coechner.
Yeah, in the complex.
The
In
complex.
Yeah.
It's still called the complex there. The black box, maybe 70 seats.
Yes.
All right. I'll tell you the players: Mike Coleman, Pete Holney, Neil Flynn, Pat Finn, myself, and Pat McCartney.
Correct.
We were a 6-man troupe,
Yes.
and we had the same model that we do today in that we would take a suggestion of a location that would fit the size of the stage we were standing on, and then we would perform our show from there, which I guess we've loosely defined as slacker,
Yes.
but it's our version of it.
Yeah.
It's more like
Someone
a Beer
else
Shark
laid
Mice
that.
form.
We've never called it that.
Okay.
Someone else named it that.
So I would call
style.
it a Beer Shark Mice form.
Yeah.
There you go.
Which is basically tag-ins exploring whatever relationship we feel gives us the most food.
What year would you say that was?
It was 1998.
And that's when IO was at the complex, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
IO West, yeah.
I think it was 98, and I might be wrong. It could have been 99. I think it was 98, unless we started in the spring,
Yeah.
because I got married in 98, and I know we rehearsed in my house.
Right.
But the question is, was it that summer, fall, or was it spring that we started?
I thought it was fall, but because we weren't going to meet on a Monday because we were going to watch Monday Night Football.
I love our priorities.
Yeah. And the other thing I remember about that first show, if I may, is that we had Pete really wanted a threaded story thing, so the tags weren't as quick. So if we tagged Dave, if Dave tagged in with something, he would take whatever character on a long journey, like through physicality or whatever, and then we would try to catch up with the next leg of it way later. There was no like rubber band back.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember the first show having that element to it, or the first couple, but then we just started to streamline the show, and by the second or third show, it was
Rubber band back is the best way to describe that. Like, yes, stretch it and make it snap back. Make sure
Yes.
all the rubber bands
right,
get snapped back.
right,
And hopefully by the end we have the rubber band ball that bounces high and hits the lights.
right. And if it snaps too far, we just don't go back to it.
So let's think. Do you remember the first? I don't remember the first suggestion.
I don't remember the first suggestion. I just remember that it was at the complex. That dude, the valet dude, was all excited that we were all there.
Yeah, Francisco.
Francisco, yeah.
This brings to mind a question of like, why didn't we archive things? Why this is the not the fallacy, a fundamental flaw of most improvisers. You don't record your shows. You don't. We always go back immediately after the show. We have a standard practice of kind of deconstructing what just happened,
Right.
and checking in with each other, going, what was good, what was bad, what were our mistakes, what were our strengths, and we've always done that in a very, I think, humble and democratic way.
Yes.
None of us, to my knowledge, have ever pointed fingers at each other, and
Only to ourselves.
Only to ourselves. You know, sometimes we'll say, "I'm so sorry. I thought you were someone else," or "I was trying to bring this in," or something. And a lot of times you'll just have a fumble out there. And you know, as Del said, you know, follow your mistakes. So we're very good at that. We don't ignore anything that's happened on stage. But why have our biggest mistake would be, why not simply record on one page what the suggestion was, who the players were, what the suggestion was, what the date was, and then just a loose idea of what happened would be such a treasure trove of ideas.
Well, yes, it was archived better once we moved to Hollywood Boulevard because they had a video set up and they had everything. There are some old shows from the complex, but you're right. There should have been a log. There should have been some kind of thing.
Well, okay, so let's just assume you had a perfect archive with every single show digitally stored. How often are you even inclined to even visit this material, and why would you?
Well, we haven't been. We've only attempted to go through it once. How often? So if there, I guess it bespeaks to a larger question: who are you guys, and what are you to each other? We have been a group of friends that apparently all draw our ancestry back to perhaps a single county in Ireland, which lets us know why we were drawn together. And then, but what are we ultimately has never been a concern beyond a group of people that enjoy doing this art form together.
Yeah, and I don't see the value anyway in trying to explore your identity any further than why we're here, why we showed up, and what we're going to do.
Right, exactly. That's what it is. It's disposable jazz. So, but I personally had hopes and visions that this group of people could probably put together a damn good film. But being as democratic, chaotic, anarchic, busy and independent that we are, the thing that binds us together is the same thing that will not push us further. We are a beautiful island that just lets trees grow. We're not looking to capitalize on what we are.
But Dave and I worked on a movie idea. We met a bunch of times because we took the lead on it, and it's still a usable, viable idea.
Eggs is ready.
Eggs is ready.
Is that what it's called?
Yeah, Eggs is ready.
Eggs is ready.
Yeah. And it's like inspired by it's a mad world.
Okay.
And just these kind of like mirroring our show, like the different parts, and like city government and a small town that gets corrupted, and all the characters therein. You know?
We started writing it around the time that Parks and Rec was announced and then debuted, and we're like, that's a town council, so we kind of like got less excited about it.
Yes.
On it, of course.
Yes.
It's so funny that you would reference, that movie.
Right.
The idea of small town filled with characters. That's I'm a contemporary of yours and I've known you guys for pushing 30 years now. So I know that we are all educated by the same, essentially the same group of sitcoms and 60s comedies films, whether it's The Russians Are Coming or Andy Griffith. All of those things, the Paul Henning, rural comedies and all that, and all the other stuff that all took place on a fairly small stage.
Right.
A town with the town as the backdrop.
Was Paul Henning a Second City guy? Who?
Oh, I don't think so. Paul Henning was the rural comedy guy, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
he's the guy that
Beverly Hillbillies.
Okay.
Mayberry and.
I know the guy. I know where his house is in Toluca Lake because Charlie once went to school with a kid whose mom bought the property of the guy that had created Beverly Hillbillies.
I believe that.
That's
I'm
interesting.
pretty sure that guy's name was
Wow.
Paul Henning.
Yes.
If it isn't, this is all going to get edited.
I was thinking of Tony Hendra.
No, Tony Hendra was a Harvard Lampoon, National Lampoon guy.
And he was never a SC guy?
I don't think so.
Oh, okay.
Well, I never saw his name on any of.
And is Hendra the Englishman?
Yeah.
Well, we'll get a little comedy lesson as we go.
I'm the one getting the lesson. I
No,
have a quick question.
No, yeah, dude, do it.
So of course there was a cool, secondary or maybe even primary goal of us like, we're going to be on stage, we're going to meet once a week, we're going to do our thing, and then product might come out of that we're going to apply, to our bigger, more important lives, and maybe, to a bigger market. So maybe the product didn't arrive, or it was circumvented or democratized away, as you say. But while you were doing that, while that happened, you also were meeting on stage and playing regularly. What would you guys say improved in terms of your stagecraft because of it? So a feature didn't get written, but what benefits came about?
Well, we got better. There's no question.
Yeah.
What had happened is we would all come from that process of right toward the end, before a lot of us started transitioning out of Chicago. We started the Armando Diaz experience and Hootenanny. And you were part of that in Chicago? No?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
Just a fan.
So Mike and I didn't get to know each other till, after we'd both been doing this thing later, until we got to Real Life Brady Bunch.
Right.
And we struck up a nice friendship. And then after that, we find that we're all like-minded. And then when we all found ourselves here in Los Angeles, there was a group of 30 people that were contemporaries who had all played Armando at one time or another in Chicago, found ourselves here with a performance opportunity. And I had no idea, like I thought in Chicago, you just put together whoever's available. And then you'd probably have 12 players, maybe 15. You'd split into two groups and do an Armando. So we started doing Armando here, and we quickly got a group of at least 30 people who were always available, because now you're out in Los Angeles and nobody has anything going on.
Yeah.
And this is suddenly the only thing. So now that raft got overloaded, and so the quality of performance in those Armandos really was not
diffused.
Diffused. That's the neutral way of putting it. And so that's what drove us to.
I'm Secretary of Neutrality.
Nice, that's
in
good.
The new administration.
That's good. That's what drove us together. It was like, well, we clearly all play the same way, and I think.
Yeah.
So to answer your question, we just got really good, I think.
Well, there's also that thing that I remember watching Jazz Freddy or watching the Armando in Chicago was it can be frenetic, it can be fast-paced, it can be all these things, but in between or from the sides, there's this calm that when you're younger you don't always have.
Yeah, right.
And I think the show, this calm came about where you're like not over-analyzing the show, you're just like in the moments of what's happening. So when there is a burst of something happening, it really bursts because you don't see the people on the side like nervous. Not that we were ever nervous, but there's this calm that I really enjoy when I watch people like oh, they're not worried about anything. They're just listening. Oh shit, what a move! What a great thing! What a great callback!
Yeah.
Because they have this calm about them that I enjoy, and I think that we got this calm and more stage time together, and this shorthand that we know.
Yeah.
With each other,
certainly a competency
Yes.
that was readily available. And so the other thing, I had an idea based on what you just said, Kevin, what got better, and I not to say I know we got better, but maybe we got more competent, or you know what, here's what I realized now is that we all had the same desire, and that desire and continues to be, how could we have improved on what we just did? No one was satisfied. And I'd say to this day, we're still not satisfied.
Well, I've been a guest in this group, and I was always, very much a fly on the wall, like after the show, and I'd listen to the postmortem that you guys were describing earlier, and it to me, it was impressive. It was definitely it was not an airing of grievance or discontent. It was a leaning ahead type thing of saying like, what can we build on from that?
Yes.
It was very evident, really.
Yes, and and subsequently we've referenced shows where it didn't go off the tracks, but it just wasn't that enjoyable. It was, the audience had fun. It was great, but it's like, oh, this is bakery. We just did fucking bakery again. Yes, and everyone's like, yes, November of whatever year. That was bakery. That was a mess. And for us,
Yeah.
And,
It's always tough to get the same suggestion twice, and we've told this story before, but there was a period. Now, we used to play every weekend for 10 years. We'd play every Saturday, with few exceptions.
Right.
And then it finally got to be the point where we're all now married, except for Neil. And everyone was having more and more children, so it became increasingly difficult to make that appointment every Saturday. I remember one Saturday leaving, and the twins were very young, and they said, "Where are you going, Daddy?" And my wife's like, "Where are you going? Really? To do an improv
Good
show?"
question.
And I don't get a date.
where is Daddy?
Yeah. I don't get a date night. It costs me $30 to do the show because I have to pay $10 for parking and tip the bartenders $20. It costs us money to do the show every week.
Crowley would thank you for that.
Yes, but it got to the point where it's like, okay, well, it's this, doesn't become a viable thing. My point was, what was the thing you just said?
Well,
Not a good listener.
I think what you were edging towards was the idea of the regularity with which you were meeting. The competency was going up.
Mm-hmm.
The desire was all there. It was all the same. You guys were looking to improve. So, even as your life circumstance changed, maybe your goals stayed the
Yes.
same.
I also remember we were talking about getting the same suggestion
Yes.
over and over.
Yeah.
And so what had happened was at one point, and again, I guess my first point was we used to play every weekend.
Mm-hmm.
So for 3 or 4 weeks in a row, we got the suggestion of Submarine. And what happens, all right, first Submarine, great. The next week you get Submarine and your whole body freezes because what you want to do is like, I don't want to repeat anything I've done.
Yeah.
Because our thing, we're a pretty pure group. We're purists, and like, you don't repeat. I mean, we sometimes play old characters that we know work, but we really don't lean on anything.
No, yeah, there's not going to be any repetition in your work.
Yes. So there are a few tropes we always engage in, whether it be cops or newscasters or stuff like that. Doctors, surgeons.
I've seen those a few times.
check out clerks.
Right.
But we really try to avoid ever repeating any material.
Of course.
So that's the only time it becomes difficult. And I think it was 4 weeks in a row someone yelled at Submarine. And by the same rule, we don't deny a suggestion.
No.
Because then we don't want anyone thinking, oh, they plan it. Because everyone thinks we do, which is a compliment. But so we'll take the suggestion.
Yeah.
And so by the 4th time, I think we had to say, accept Submarine. And we don't know this, but we thought perhaps.
Yes. Someone was working on a script with a submarine in it, and we were the stooges who were writing jokes for this person.
A submarine story set in a small town. This is the Russians are coming.
Fuck, that guy did it, Dave.
We just couldn't, unless it was someone out there trying to test. Those guys plan everything.
Right.
Oh.
But how can you don't know what suggestion you're gonna get? Who knows? It could
Could have just been an inspector
Well-
or an improv inspector.
Yeah, they have those, right?
Well, it could have been
we
someone
don't.
going.
We don't have any.
Here, to follow that conspiracy, it could have been several people who showed up at several shows thinking they can't be that good. They have to plan it. Let's see. What if the first submarine was a plant? I'll submarine again.
Which one was the real submarine?
Yeah.
The third one? It's a delightful, fucked up nightmare story because it gives you so much to think about.
Yeah.
And all it is, I mean, probably in the end, all it was somebody thought it'd be funny to just say submarine.
Right.
Once.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know. It's like.
And it sends you. I mean, you guys by the 4th week, you must have been losing your minds.
Yeah. We're just like, okay, make sure you say not submarine. You can't yell submarine.
Right.
And then someone says nuclear submarine.
Single spot. Where are you? Come on up. We got your shirt. You got your hat.
Let's go out backstage.
Yeah.
great.
Come on.
Right there around the corner.
I don't want to
Yeah.
grind
Right
it
in
out of
there.
that first
This is
question.
great.
Go ahead.
This is awesome. You guys were talking about rehearsals back in the day, and when you started rehearsals, was it the same kind of concept you guys do backstage of like talking? Did you guys do it yourselves, or did you have a director? Like, how did it work?
We did it ourselves.
We did it ourselves. Pete had the idea, and I think it was a phone call with Pete and looped in was Neil and Dave, and the three of them set up like kind of some parameters, and then we met at your house, and we each talked about what kind of show we'd want to work on. But Pete had the idea, or Pete wanted to do this threaded story thing,
Right.
with tag outs, and but we all expressed like what we wanted and what we didn't want in the show. Because I was doing Armando here at the IO here,
Yeah.
but I wasn't part of Stella Adler. I didn't live out here yet.
Okay.
But yeah, because I'd watched you guys do it in Chicago, which was phenomenal.
Right. That was the great group.
And Dell was involved, and he
Yep.
was.
Dell ran a couple rehearsals.
Yes,
Yeah.
I remember that.
Um,
But like Jazz Freddy, you guys did on your own, correct?
yeah, that was a amalgamation of Ed and IO players.
But like Jim Denon, he didn't run rehearsals or anything.
Yeah.
'Cause- oh, he did.
he did
Oh, he did. Okay.
the second season.
The second season.
And I think did Pete direct the first season?
Yeah,
I think he
Pete
did.
directed the first.
And
Right.
then Jim
directed the second.
Denon the
Okay.
second.
Cool. But very different kind of shows. Very different.
Were they the Jazz Freddies?
The Jazz Freddy and the Armando.
Oh yeah, very
yeah,
different.
yeah.
Very
Yeah.
different.
Armando, and I don't mind saying, was a concept that was discovered by myself and Adam McKay at about 4:00 in the morning on I would say a Sunday
at a
morning.
church?
At a church. I know, at Armando Diaz's apartment. Who was living there at the time? Was Adam living with Armando?
Yeah, I think he was. I think
By
he,
Sharnas?
well, I think Adam he was living with Pat McCartney at that time.
Okay.
This was about early '95.
But that,
So
happened.
because Adam had a job on main stage at that point.
Right,
So
and
he
I
had
was-
moved out of that Armando's apartment,
In
but he had
fact-
previously lived with Armando on
Okay.
Melrose, about Melrose and Ashland.
I bring up these origin
Yeah.
things because how did that go down when you were going to work on a show? Like, did you guys discuss the kind of show you wanted to work on?
yeah, here's what it was.
I'll tell you the third person they spoke to.
I love it.
I was 3 in this.
It was 4:00 in the morning. We were in our cups and
Deep.
after Ale House and continuing the conversation and drinking. And we're all working at Second City, a bunch of us, at least 10 or 15 of us from the IO had gotten into Second City. And there were still other players at IO that we still loved and enjoyed playing with. And we thought, how can we create a situation where we still get to commune? And we decided it's going to be Monday nights. We're going to make a short list of people that can play because you never know who's not going to be available on Monday night. So it'd be a short list of maybe 20
I mean,
people.
I think the list might have been around there, probably between 15 and 20 people, because we had to accommodate the fact that Monday nights were an obligation for the people who were in touring company.
So we kind of came with a list of people we wanted to play with who all were like-minded and we felt talented and, got it on that level that you're like, oh, he gets it. We know where we're going. And then kind of come up with loosely with a form. I think was tag outs and edits and wipes. And then we're thinking, and it was like, okay, then someone's going to do a monologue, and we'll just improvise off that, and the monologist will come back, several times throughout. We came up with all that, and then Adam goes, and Armando was in a rocking chair, and then Adam just excitedly and emphatically points at Armando and says, and Armando's going to do the monologue. And that was it. Then we came up with the name of the show. I wonder if I still have that piece of paper with everyone's name on it and the title. And so then, did I call you the next day?
Yeah, I mean, early, right? Probably not long after that.
When you were
guys
getting out of
included
church.
me. Yeah, right. When I was we had a long conversation where it started to shape up where it was a question of the division of the autonomy of the show. That a group of people would have autonomy over half of the show, and one person would have autonomy over the other half. And that was kind of influenced by something we had been doing with Dell and in Dell's class, which few of us were in anymore at that point, but we had remembered it from Dell's class. The peaceful transfer of power between one person and a group was kind of how we also was one of the things that got discussed. Like whatever the information is that would come up on stage, how would that look when one person was doing it, and then peacefully transfer that power to the group, and then the group would peacefully transfer it back to the one person. So it was to see what it was like to see a one-person show and an improv show at the same time,
Right.
with total authority given to whoever was in, the harness at the time, whoever was in focus at the time.
Right.
But then that was a very wide-ranging discussion, and the more we talked about it, the more we got excited about the idea of Armando having the entire authority over the show and being able to direct or redirect scenes that had already occurred. Which did not last, but was one of the objectives of our rehearsal process, which were run by Dave, Adam, and Del.
And then eventually Armando.
Yeah, and Armando as well.
I remember the other impetus for that show starting. Sharna had started a new theater, a new space.
This was a backdrop, yes, against which we were, and behind us all, which was the theater was new. The theater on Clark Street was a new development. It was a new space. There were not 7 nights of shows there programmed yet, and this was a way to get business on an off night for the theater, and everyone was very game for that. We wanted to get the theater very established. It was the first putatively permanent home that Improv Olympic had ever known at that point. And by that time, we by the way, this is amusing to even think, but it was 1995, and some of us had been in Improv Olympic for almost 5 years. Yeah, we considered ourselves veterans.
Lifers.
Better.
Didn't realize that it was going to be 25, 30 years later.
But I think, inspired by that,
Yeah.
I think that we're like, we can make a new show. We've done it before.
Yes.
And we just had our people, because Armando was going strong on Monday nights here, and it was at the complex as well. But we wanted to do something more focused with a smaller number of people.
Yeah.
So I don't know that I remember Pete talking about it a lot, and then he said, I have an idea for a show, and I'm going to talk to Dave about it.
There were a lot of people who were having hurt feelings by not getting to play Armando week to week, and it had become a real headache. And I think we just decided, let's retract into a group that we know we want to play with, and then that's it. Just create a group and not have to worry about
Manageable number, known cast.
Yes.
Doom, doom, doom.
Did that answer your question at all?
That did. No, this is great.
It occurs to me, I know you might have something you want to ask, but
Not
there's
really.
something that I can't get over right now, which is
No, please.
back in 1995, the period we were just talking about, there were not only, I would say this very easily with great confidence, there were no 50-year-olds with 5 kids on stage doing improv in Chicago. None.
That is true.
Absolutely none. Much less a group of 6 of them.
Right.
So it's kind of fun and awesome in a way for me to use my imagination and go back to 1985 and think, what if there were a group of 45 to 50-year-old players up there doing things, pivoting from their life experiences and going off of what's important to them now or what was important to them once or in the future. And how would that have informed me as a 24, 26-year-old guy, improviser? It's nuts to think that we didn't have any such example.
Right.
And I wonder, it's just an open-ended
I
thing.
think I could say, as an experience watching you guys coming through the thing, I think it's a huge asset. Beer Shark Mice was some of the first shows I saw at I.O. Because I'm originally from California, born in Northern California, came to Los Angeles, and iOS was like new right when I got here. And seeing you guys do it, and you guys weren't, that old, but like older than me, and like seeing these veterans and like, because out here there was no long form, never even heard of it. It was short form, comedy, sports, stuff like that. And then you see this theatrical piece that you're like, to me, it was the epiphany moment of like, I don't know what that is, but I want to do it. Because the level of what you guys were doing it wasn't like I was watching a beginning team. It was like I was watching these veterans, and that was inspiring to me. And I think inspiring to a whole generation of improvisers out here that didn't know what this was, and getting an introduction to that style of theatricality and improv.
That's good to hear.
Yeah.
And, Kevin, you're right. When we were coming up, I've been doing long form improv for 30 years. There was nobody who'd been doing long form improv for 30 years when you and I started.
No, there wasn't. And speaking of 30, it just occurs to me when I said, there were no groups of improvisers, much less any one improviser that was 45 or 50. I remember the oldest improviser in our group turning 30.
Noah Gregoropoulos.
And we made a big deal out of it.
Yeah.
It was almost like it was an Irish way, because I don't know how many years this guy's got left in him.
Right.
He just turned 30.
Get the car warmed up. We're thinking about to the farm. Is he following us? He's running. He's chasing the car. God damn it! Where are you guys going?
We thought we were sending him away on an ice floe, like an old Inuit. It was hilarious to think that was our attitude towards a 30-year-old person. Well, we might as well give him a party. How many of these has he got left?
And now he's the most.
Yeah, now he's like the artistic director of
Yeah.
Chicago.
And one could argue one of the most.
If I'm wrong about that, then that's not his title.
Right, but one of the most important
Yeah, big
teachers
influence.
in voices in improvisation right now.
Yes.
Big influence over all of us and many, many more.
Well, and that's what you get too. All the teachers now are like Miles and all those guys. Craig. I mean, those are the guys I took coming up too.
Paul.
Paul Valancourt. Yeah, he's my
gosh.
level 1 teacher. Amazing.
Paul was the only outside person that ever coached our team.
And what a work ethic.
Yeah.
What a teacher.
Man, fat. Just
Well, we recognize like here's a person. You're better to have an outside eye, and he was the one person. We're like, okay, well, yeah, because he was still teaching.
Yes.
And we all recognize this is the guy that can help us improve upon what we're doing, or fine tune
Yes.
what we're doing.
Right.
Yeah, and he's he'll give you what you need.
Yeah.
And you knew that going in. It's this familiarity that makes it so. I know, it's not always easy, obviously, putting any group together, getting it up, and then seeing if you want to keep doing it.
Right.
But this level of familiarity really does do a lot of good. It seemed to be nothing but a benefit for you.
when did Paul join the team? Do you remember?
Well, he would fill in here and there, so
Yeah.
he's probably been with us solid for 8 or 9 years.
Okay.
Yeah. 5 used to be the number. We started with 6, and then Pat McCartney moved to New York, and we went down to 5 and stayed with 5, which seemed to be a great number because, number one, it's an odd number. I think
Yeah.
it helps you. And then it seemed to have the right amount of energy and stage time for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And what happened after, solid 10 years is that all of us started having outside commitments, and we wouldn't be there. And it's just a little tougher with 4. It can still be great, but 4 is tougher. 5's perfect. And so Paul was the go-to guy.
Yes.
Adrian Winter was the other one we would often bring in.
Yes.
And then at some point, I think we just permanently offered Paul a spot on the roster, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, Nick, you have no insight or even heads up about this, but the truth is, Dave, Mike, and I all lived and worked in New York for 6 months in 1992. So I'm going to ask about that real quick.
Totally.
Sorry, I never
I love
told
this.
you about this.
No, I don't care.
Gentlemen, we all know what happened. There are some great cultural markers from the first 6 months of 1992. Bulls won the championship and eliminated the Knicks in the process.
Yes.
We watched that game at a
Watched
sports bar in
as
Greenwich
many
Village.
games as we could.
For a bit of background, Michael was the stage manager, and Dave and I were cast members of the Real Life Brady Bunch at the Village Gate Theater. First 6 months of 1992, the Real Life Brady Bunch show.
What month did we start?
I think we started in January, and the show closed in June. Right at the end of June.
You and I got hired as a replacement cast of the Real Life Brady Bunch. And did we take one car filled with our stuff?
That's a good question. Here's the thing. I went out in Dratch's Honda Civic.
Oh, you did?
And we went by way of Lexington, Mass, because she needed to stop at her parents' place for something.
Then I must have rented
So
a car and put my stuff in.
Yeah, you came in I want to say U-Haul Econoline van.
Wow,
And then
so
ditched it in New York.
Oh, I
'cause
brought
you
all my
had
stuff. I decided I was moving to New York permanently.
Yeah, I was treating this as we'll see where this goes, and you brought the farm.
That would have been a smarter move.
Well,
to not think, well, that's it.
our first landing pad was a loft complex on 14th Street, which was still a crap neighborhood at the time.
Yes.
Very cheap, very big, partitioned rooms, if you know what I mean, as opposed to real rooms. And that was sort of for everybody in the cast. If you were in the cast, you were entitled to live there. Some did, some didn't. We did for a few weeks. And then eventually we took up residence in the East Village, and Jill Soloway and Faith Soloway in their apartment.
Jane and Faith's apartment.
That was Jane and Faith,
Yeah.
the place above Joe's
Yes.
Tavern?
Yes.
It's on 6 between A and B. So that was Jane's.
Yeah. Because
place.
Jill and Peter lived down
Right.
towards HB Studios. Down
Gotcha.
the White
Right.
Horse.
So that was
Yeah.
Jane and Faith's place.
Yeah.
We took up there. We sublet from there.
Yes.
All of this just makes me, again, sad that I've never kept a journal.
Between rehearsing the shows, right, and then doing the shows, and
That was
then
all, man.
going out, I wonder what, and getting wasted and then sleeping in.
Right.
I wonder what could have possibly gone into those journals they would be interesting to read now.
Well, just I guess any annotation of what date, what happened. When you mentioned Joe's Bar down below, I'm like, oh right.
Yeah, we lived above the only country and western bar in Manhattan, and boy was that jukebox loud.
Yeah.
And I didn't like country and western at the time. But
You'd hear it come up.
Oh yeah. Oh no, that was no problem. Dave liked country and western.
Some of it.
Had a background with it, but but that jukebox had a lot of classic
Yes.
country western.
Yeah.
Right? So I got acquainted with the genre by living in that apartment, and the more I heard, the better it got.
There is some good stuff. Yeah.
And you walked me through it. You're like, well, this is Hank Williams. This is a different thing. This is the Bakersfield sound. I mean, I got a whole education while I was living in that apartment.
And interestingly, a side note about where he lived, if you see Godfather 2 or the Godfather, conglomeration film, when De Niro is following
Oh, Don Fanucci.
Don Fanucci, that's your street. Those are your rooftops
Oh, that's 6th Street.
wow.
Wow.
in the village.
I loved what Mike had
East
been
Village.
living. Mike had been living in New York 6 months prior.
Yeah.
And he had the village down.
Oh, he knew it
And
cold.
he would. I remember once we went looking for shoes, and it was a thrill because Mike would take me through St. Mark's. Here's where we're going to get some nice boots. Here's some good shoes. We went shoe
Because
shopping.
you walked, you needed good shoes.
And man, we covered some blocks just looking for shoes, and it was so thrilling. Mike kept pointing out, cultural landmarks. There's Tompkins Square Park.
Right.
There's St. Mark's Place. Here's where the junkies.
Right, here's where G.G. Allen killed himself.
Right. James Says was written right here.
Yep.
This is CB's. That's
Yeah.
Right.
right.
Yeah.
There's Cooper Union.
Yes. Let's go to McSorley's.
Yeah.
Where was your apartment at the time? I vaguely recall it was in Chelsea.
No, I was we were on 11th Street, 67 East 11, between Broadway and University.
Oh, so you were okay.
Yeah, right by that giant Prez church, and at the other end was like
So you're a little east of where I remember.
yeah, that's
okay.
it. But if you went through Cooper Union and everything, I'd be at your house, your guys' apartment in a couple minutes.
What's the slice place we went to?
Well, the one on Bleecker or the one?
Yeah.
Well, there's the ubiquitous
Ray's?
Ray's.
No, but we went to another joint.
Yeah, we'd go to this other place.
Do you remember what it was called?
You mean the 6th Avenue place? The big one with the big bright lights across from the Catholic Church?
No, those one on Bleecker near the theater.
Yeah, I can't remember the name of it.
Oh, gosh, yeah, but that's the one that's by the Comedy Cellar and stuff, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and so I take my kids to New York for a long weekend when they turn 10. I took Charlie there when he turned 10 because I think, to me,
Koechner family tradition, when you turn 10,
Dad takes you to New York.
you go to New York.
Because when we stay on Times Square, in a hotel on Times Square, and then I slowly take them out through the city. So you start with Times Square the first day, and that's just an overstimulation that just, lights them up. Then you go to the Hershey's or the M&M store, and that's all they ever want to do for the rest of the trip. But then second day, I'll take you to...
You just want to keep going to Dave and Buster's. I love New York, Dad. Right. It's where dreams come true.
So I'll take them to the Brooklyn Bridge on the train, and we'll go to the end of the Brooklyn Bridge. Then we walk the Brooklyn Bridge, which they have no appreciation of, and they don't want to do it. Halfway through, it's how much further. And then we'll go down, the Trade Center Memorial. But we happened upon every time, and I always stumble upon it, that old slice joint.
Yeah.
And it makes me so melancholy and appreciative of everything that was going on in my life at the time.
Yeah.
It's just the best. And we have to stop in and get a slice.
Well, they have the white sauce pizza too.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, hey, what's that? And they're like, it's white sauce pizza. You want to try some? I'm like, sure, I'll try a white sauce pizza. And it was fantastic. And also, that pizza joint and those other businesses, if you go out the back door, that is one of those enclosed Greenwich Village park in the middle behind the two apartment buildings on Sullivan and something. There's like this park that's in between. There's a park. Yeah. So people hang out in between the two buildings in this Shangri-La of trees, and it's like their own private park. And those businesses abut to that park on the Bleecker side. It's crazy. I was like, what's that out there? It's a park. I'm like, what? What? I I was in there all the time. I got to know those guys pretty good. So, sorry.
Anything specific about your Brady Bunch experience that occurs to you now?
Well, it was. I remember it being a haul. I mean, like they weren't kidding. We did Monday night, the dark night. We were like, all right, we got paid. Remember, we'd get paid, and then go to that bank and
Citibank?
Yeah, was it? Or was it Bank of Manhattan? Something like that.
I can't remember.
But it was like on Fifth Avenue. We cashed the checks. You're like, all right.
Let's go spend it.
Yeah,
Just
basically.
spend it, yeah.
And but it was like matinee on Sunday, 2 on Friday, right? It was like it was a haul.
Yeah.
Like it was. We did eight shows a week, and they weren't kidding around. And another side. This is one of my favorite things about the Village Gate, because that's where we did the show downstairs. Saturday nights, people were like, all right, let's go out. Let's do whatever. And I had to put everything away. The stage manager had to put everything away and lock stuff up. And I'm like, all right, I'll meet you guys. We're going to go. But loading in was always a show. And for many Saturdays in that winter, spring, Tito Puente and his band would load in. And I'm like, I'll be out of your way in a minute, Mr. Puente. Take your time. It was fantastic. I was like, holy fuck. Like, I would talk to him. And the other thing, at Christmas time, right before you guys got there, I had the same job, but I was also doing the commercials in the real life game show. Writing them and for the local businesses.
This was the opening act of the Brady Bunch show. It was a real time game show that used 2 audience picked contestants.
Right, and they get local businesses, and you'd write a live commercial for their business and perform it during breaks.
Yeah, you're in the commercials.
So it was like because it was like a TV night, and they go, let's go to a commercial. I was like, anyway.
You do a commercial for a Caliente cab company,
Sure.
or
Yeah, Minetta Grill or Minetta.
Minetta Tavern.
Yeah. Anyway, it was a good time. But I remember one night I think Yados was still there, and we were putting everything away, and we hear the Charlie Brown soundtrack coming up from upstairs. I'm like, oh, that sounds nice, Christmas time, and the jukebox sounds good or whatever. And you go up there, and it's the real guys. It's
it's Vince playing
Vince
his
Ferrari.
own composition
Yeah.
on the piano.
Yeah, right there. I mean, like 2 feet away.
That's what you're going to get in New York.
Yes.
And that's,
Right.
that experience that's so textured and leveled and impactful and historic.
Yeah.
And you're just walking by it.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah.
And then I listened for a while. I stayed, and then I'm like, I gotta go meet. I gotta go meet.
Yeah, I gotta go meet.
Yeah,
I gotta go meet Koechner
why?
at a bar.
Yeah.
What?
Thank you, Mr. Garibaldi.
Yeah.
But then again, what did we create on Monday nights when we were down? We chose
To do an improv show
We did.
on our off night.
Yeah, we did. That's right.
Got together and tried to.
Do you remember the name of it?
Bitter lemons.
Bitter Lemons.
Bitter Lemons.
And who was in the lemons?
It was the 3 of us.
Yes.
So myself, Mike Coleman, Kevin Dorff,
Rachel Dratch.
Rachel.
Rachel Dratch. What's his name?
I don't know.
He was a Second City player.
Aaron Rhodes.
Aaron Rhodes, Rowdy Yates.
All right, yeah.
Rowdy Yates
Aaron Rhodes was in that group. That's right.
Yeah.
And James.
and James.
And James.
And was there another female in the cast?
There was, but gosh, darn me if I can remember who it was.
She wasn't
I
one
think
of-
it was actually her name was Karen,
Yes.
and she was from Weehawken, and she was in our show.
Yeah.
I forget her last name at the moment.
And
And
it
she
wa-
was in our cast.
Was it a long form show? Was it part games, part long form? Was it more just of a herald?
I really think that it was games with a game act and then a long form act. That's what I
Okay.
think it
Yeah.
was. And we tried to do it, but it was hard to get a crowd, and
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we didn't invite the entire cast in either,
From
which
the-
was a bone
yeah,
of
from
contention.
our-
But
yeah,
it was
from our-
that first attempt of like, well, not everybody can actually play, and it may have been just easier to. But I think I don't know. I certainly have always been a bit of a insistent. Is the term parochialist? Like if you don't know this religion, you're not gonna play. You're not gonna pray it.
Yeah.
I don't. Like to me, I don't. Someone once told me that I don't suffer fools gladly, and that is a strength and a weakness that I embrace. And it become, I have failed to realize when things become divisive. I just think I'm on the right side of things, and that's it, which is a flaw.
But we were
Right, but
producing and casting and directing and performing in our own show, just trying to hedge our bets to everything we could get. Trying to load up the show with people that we had a background with, so that we could execute
Show business is
and
not
not get
democratic.
hurt. Yeah, and so it wasn't as inclusive as it probably could have been. But on the other hand, I don't know that we could have ever divined what the right way would be. We were hacking.
There was no point to
just
be
hacking
inclusive,
away,
I think, too.
Right. Plus, you were taking class
Yes.
with Bobby Lewis.
Right.
And I was taking class. Were you taking class too?
Hell no. Hell no.
Yeah.
I was the opposite of taking class. I was going to the track.
Yeah, that's
in
right.
the daytime. I was going to Yonkers. I take the track. I take the bus up to Yonkers and hit the track for the afternoon, and then come down and do the show at night.
Nice.
A lot of fun. There was so many fun things that I specifically, that whole 6 months. Well, probably the funnest thing about it was finding out our show was closing. And really kind of all like realizing, well, we got a week to go here. Let's have a blast. And kind of everyone putting on their best, their best personality for that remaining week, because we knew we were going to be out of a job soon, and there was no reason not to have a good time on stage. No one really, had a breakdown about it. Although it sucked. Yeah. Because some of us left New York right afterwards. Because I was like, I ain't sticking around. I don't have the money to live here. And I beat it back to Chicago and got cast in Jazz Freddy subsequently. But but some people stuck it out. Rachel stayed for I think 6 more months, maybe more.
Wow.
Do you remember the closing situation?
I was gone. Remember, I left 2 weeks prior.
Where did you go?
Back to Chicago.
Oh, okay.
And I was talking to you guys on a remember I talked to you guys on a payphone.
We did all of our talking.
You called me. You called me. You guys called me from a bar on a payphone in Chicago, and I was like, "Hello," and you're like, "It's over." People are drinking like the Nazis are invading Paris.
Oh, shit.
Yep, it was awesome.
I remember
You told me where you were. I'm like, oh yeah, it's a good place.
All right, so we're at the something
we're at the
or
whatever.
Yeah.
And it's over. They told us tonight.
Thumb up. So yes, things we've learned. Back then you could call someone on a payphone and they'd be home.
Yes. I was home.
And the call doesn't get dropped.
No.
As long as you've got the quarters, you're in good shape.
Yeah, it would have been a text immediately after we got the news. At that time, we wait till the evening because I think we heard in the morning.
We did. We knew in the daytime, and we had a brief meeting at the theater to get the official word. This show's not going to be going much longer. I think next week's our last week. Did the show and went out drinking. Called Mike.
Yeah. That's the order of business.
That's so. You guys now, for Beer Shark, you just did the 20th anniversary of IO West, right? You guys have been performing at IO for the last this year.
Oh, I don't know. When was there a show with marketing?
No marketing. But it's 20 years of IO West now.
Okay.
There was no grand show, but you guys came back and did a few shows in January.
Yes.
So let me ask you
January,
this.
February,
yeah. And are you guys? I think you might be coming back once a month or something.
I haven't heard.
Rumors. Don't know.
Doing this podcast makes me think I want to do it at least once a month. But Sharna had.
You're welcome,
asked
Sharna.
us. She'd asked us to do a run of shows.
Yeah.
Just to kind of, I think it helps boost advertisement for the theater.
For sure.
Like you said earlier, you're like, oh, when you saw our group, you said I want to do this. So I think we might be a good.
It's always inspiring, even to me today. I've been at IO since 2000, IO West, and I'm on King 10 with Crowley and all those guys, and we've been going for about 15 years, and but you guys are before us and such. Like, I feel like when you guys talk about this is exactly what we do in the green room, exactly the stories that we have, but all inspired by you guys and stuff, and I think people would hugely benefit for you guys coming around and doing that if you can. And what I was going to ask you is, hearing all this history of where you guys were and all this stuff and flashing to now, doing the shows now, is it the same? Is it different? Is it like riding a bike? You get back to all those, it's just right there again. Like, how is it different or how is it the same?
I personally don't feel it's different.
Yeah.
I know when you're doing a run of shows, you get better, of course. The more you practice or the more you do a thing, you get better. I never have any apprehension about playing with this group of people. I know before the show starts, it's going to be at least very good. That's where I think.
Yeah.
Sometimes we achieve what we all think is greatness. in the show. Would you agree with that, Mike?
Yes.
You're You're a more humble person than I am.
Well, I mean, to do a run is really great because you can get whatever rust off and then come back, learn, and it's still fresh in your mind because when we break it down after the show, and then come right back, in a week and do it again, and then you're like, okay, now we got it going, So because
Now I'm actually building up,
yes,
mass and
right. And 2 years ago, was it 2 summers ago? We did some shows in Chicago at the new IO, which is beautiful.
Yeah, we did 5 in a row.
5 in a row. Yeah, 5 in 3 days. And the first night was a oneer, and it was okay. It was pretty good. But we had been out during the day.
Oh, right. And did we teach also that day?
We taught the next morning.
Yeah, the tough thing about going to Chicago is the only way to make it viable for us is to include workshops during the day and then shows at night. Because there are 6 of us, that's a lot of freight. And so the producer decided she couldn't afford to fly us up, put us up, and pay us. And we all have situations in our lives where, like, I can't just go and do shows for free.
Yeah. I can't go missing
Right.
from providing for a week to do improv.
For me, I have a wife and 5 kids.
Driving down to
so
Hollywood on a Saturday.
For me to go have a fun weekend doing make-em-ups is like, what are you doing?
I'm abdicating my responsibilities.
Right. So it's tough to go out and do those shows. Though they're a lot of fun.
Well, they're great. But I mean, in that run though, once the second show of Friday night hit, it was like, okay, this is like, because the second show of Friday night, all of our guests had come to the first show, like Thursday night's first show and the first show of Friday night. But the second show of Friday night, we were free of any commitments, and we could really focus on the show. And it was a rocking show. It was things that kind of in the 90s Bulls lexicon, like no look passes and thunderous dunks and really smart callback,
Great.
shut down defenses, just like it felt really good, and to where we were backstage, like afterwards, like that's how you fucking do it.
When you don't have to talk about it backstage.
Yeah.
That's a great show.
We got nothing to say.
I will say this: it's tough. It's not as tough for me, mind space wise, because I don't have family in Chicago. But all of these guys get hammered for tickets and their time in Chicago.
Oh yeah,
these guys, everyone's really coming back to work, but all their families think like, what? We aren't spending time, and I mean, it's that you get an emotional impact of like, how dare you not spend all of your downtime with me here in Chicago, and I got a list of 20 people, and I don't intend to pay for tickets.
And we want to have dinner and hang out with you right up until the time it's time to do your show.
And after.
And
you better give me a picture with everybody I want.
Right.
I mean, so there's...
Now, that dial goes to 10 if you're one family, and it goes down to about 5 if you're another. But it never goes below 5.
No. And then there's also, not only family, all your old buddies.
Your pals, yeah.
All I can't get some tickets? Right. How much? And there should be, it would serve Sharna, or serve everybody, if you just said, I don't have any comps for the show. They're not giving comps for the show. Yeah. And that would be a gift to you guys. There's no comps, and I can't see you before the show.
As I sometimes humorously tell my brothers and sisters, it's a public event, and there's a very easy setup for payment on the website.
Yeah.
If you have an internet connection, you should be able to get into the show.
You're better served by giving tickets to a few business people who can, like, I would give tickets, like, if they were able to give us free housing. Like, well, those were the 10 comps.
Give them to,
that's it.
Give them to the
whoever's giving you the
crowd.
hotel room.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't mind all of that, and I enjoy seeing everyone, and it's exciting. But I do also enjoy when it's there. You're like, okay, that is taken care of.
Now it's just
I'm here with the boys. Let's cut loose.
Yeah.
Let's cut loose, and
Yeah.
in that venue especially, because we've also done other shows as part of like Improv Fest or whatever, and I forgot whose different family members came, and like a little talk happened before, like, hey, take it easy,
Yeah, my grandma's here.
Yeah,
or whatever.
and sitting close, and whenever that seed gets planted, it just goes blue really fast.
Yep.
And you're just like, it's, you're like, I'm like, oh man, this guy's gonna go nuts.
Yeah, the old thing when we were young was, man, you guys take it easy on the language tonight. My mom's here. Now it's my daughter's here.
Yeah.
You know, she's 17.
But also that week we had a full commitment of press and events every day. So we got invited to sing. It's a lifelong dream for Mike.
Excuse me?
I'm saying what your dreams are. Lifelong dream for Mike that we got to sing Take Me Out to the Ball Game, 7th inning stretch at Cubs Park, a.k.a. Wrigley Field. Poor Mike. You did not wear the Cubs hat?
I did not.
You did not.
I wore a Blackhawks hat.
You did. I remember the
Now,
picture.
Mike, for the people that don't understand, so for some people, for Pat Finn and Pete Holney, to sing "Take Me Out to the Ball Game." Neil too?
Neil wasn't there.
No.
Or he came later. But
Okay. To be able to sing the 7th inning stretch
yes.
at Wrigley Field, I like to think, as a young man or in your teens, that you'd be able to do that one day. For those guys, lifelong dream.
Yeah,
For
absolutely.
you to be asked to do that, what's that feel like?
Well, I know.
Now, let's give it a little history. You are not a Cubs fan.
I am not a Chicago Cubs fan.
You are a what?
Chicago White Sox fan. It is a big deal. I recognize that. I'm not a moron.
Right.
But it's not my thing. It's not my team.
It's hard to do, right?
Yeah, it was
Do you
hard.
feel like you're abdicating or betraying your team?
I just feel like not betraying my team, but like for people who really want to do it, I felt like, oh, this feels weird because for somebody who would be like, I'd kill for that guy who doesn't even, that this isn't even his team and he's up there doing it.
I know. I've thrown out the first pitch at Wrigley Field, and I will tell you, it did not feel like a big deal to me, and that's horrible. It's an honor and a privilege, I know. But for me, I was like, I don't know. What kind of joke can I do out there? Because to me, I'm thinking I got to do something fun.
I got to get a laugh.
Right. I got to get a laugh if in front of an audience.
Yeah, but I got the weight and the level of like how important this was. I got it. I mean I've seen it on TV a million times, and all the famous people have done it, and the field is so green, and the stands are packed, and
And they took care of us.
I don't want to speak for
Absolutely.
you, but as this fellow Southsider, I can tell you, I would have been thinking about the loss in social capital that would have been yours.
Yeah.
To stand in a Cub jersey with a Cub hat on, going, "Hey, let's go Cubbies!"
Did you wear a Cub jersey?
Screaming out of a
Absolutely not.
microphone. No, of course he
Did they
did.
give you one?
no, they gave me a hat though, which Holney was like, "Why don't you put on your hat? The nice lady gave you." And he wouldn't stop saying it. I'm like, "I already have a hat." And then the woman was like, "He has a Blackhawks hat on. We love the Blackhawks. Everything's fine. It's very disrespectful. You're not putting
Oh
a
my
hat on. The lady gave you- The nice lady gave you a hat. Why don't you put it on?"
And then jamming 5 guys in that little booth
Very
that's
small.
meant for 2.
So
Yes.
the needle drops, the intro plays.
Yep.
Oh, it's not a needle drop.
I know, but da 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 da
Yeah,
da,
little
and
fan.
you do what?
Fake. Yeah, we sang. I didn't fake it or anything.
You joined in.
Absolutely.
Great.
I think there was a picture posted of this online. Because
Yeah,
I remember seeing all you guys and then you in the Blackhawks hat. And I
Yes.
was like, oh, I was
Yes.
laughing my ass off.
Yeah.
Less enthusiastic about it. But it's always a fun week. I really do wish we could have a stand. And I mean, what my dream would be? My dream would be to do a Beer Shark Mice improv festival every summer at the I.O. But the cost in such a concern and the production of something like that is beyond my power to give it time to. Just because it would take a lot. And I would the dream would be you'd bring in all the old timers in various assemblages of players. Beer Shark Mice would play a ton, but then we would have all kinds of Armandos and all kinds of different mix-ups and groups of people that would play. But you could make a standard offer of like it's going to be a flight on Southwest and it's going to be a hotel that's not fancy. And then, guarantee transportation to and from the hotel, and then from airport to hotel, hotel to the venue. And that's about it. I think, unless you could divine a different way to capitalize and monetize this thing so where everyone at least breaks even.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it would have to be, I don't know how the Chicago Improv Fest does it, but I guess the advertisers and sponsors of the event. Or
Is
whatever.
that still a going?
I don't
Yeah,
know. Is
I
it?
think
Yeah,
they're
later
on
this month.
15, 15, 16.
20th one is
20th?
This one, I think it's the
Yeah,
20th
20.
one.
That's
And
great.
I'm going to be doing it. And,
Oh, nice.
It'll be very fun.
Nice.
They have
But
not
back-
asked us.
But back to where this all started. That second show of the third show in that run.
Yeah.
That's when it really feels free. When you're in the run of a show and you
Yeah.
have all the rust off, and and it feels the same as it's always felt. And
Yeah.
but I feel like it has gotten better because you just know the players and you know where the proper points to edit are, and it makes for a stronger show.
And the stage is much bigger than what we're used to.
Yes.
And I think that goes into it because it takes you a lot longer to get across that stage to make a tag in
Yes.
or a wipe
Yes.
than you acclimate yourself to the space.
Right, because the moment's almost gone by the time you're like, I won't make it if they're, their stage left. I won't make it. The joke will be gone.
Yeah.
It'll feel clumsy and weird.
Yeah.
Now, that same weekend, or was it the opening weekend, did we do the Joel Murray and Friends with the mega cast? And
That was a different one. That was
different.
that was the year prior.
that was the year she opened it. That was the
Right.
opening of her new theater.
But you guys started already next
Yeah,
door.
I couldn't be there at the opening because I
Okay.
had work, but
Okay.
I
He
did.
wasn't in that show.
Okay.
But I saw you guys at Improv Olympic.
What were we going to ask him?
No, I just remember in that kind of big giant group, I remember it feeling very free too.
And
Like you won't fall.
We
You got
had-
somebody to grab you.
We had done a Beer Shark Mice show, and the intention was as soon as Beer Shark Mice is over, we are going to go over and do another show with Joel Murray and friends. And then our show ran long, and they had already started, but we just barged in. Were they 5 or 10 minutes in?
They're at least 10 minutes in, 10 minutes in.
I didn't care. I was like, we're all playing together, and so we just jumped in, and they weren't upset about it.
No.
And then so Joel just took another suggestion and started the show again, and that was a fun show.
Yes. But my point of that is that feeling of like, I'm not worried. Look at all these people here. I am not, I'll do this, and somebody's got me. Someone's going to get it.
You're bulletproof.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's a good feeling.
And that's actually the funny thing is that it may sound like comfort seeking, but it isn't. It's so that I can go farther.
Yes.
That comfort actually allows me to be more daring.
Yes.
It's not about you're actually not cutting down on your risk. You're increasing your appetite for it. That's what it feels like to me.
That's a great way of putting it.
That's a great way of putting it, yes.
I think we're
good.
finished, you
Yeah.
guys.
Thank you so much.
Is
I
it-
have one more question. How about, I'm sure you've been asked a million times, but for our listeners, since it's a kind of a history influencing, how did you come up with Beer Shark Mice? The name.
I think we were on the phone. It may have been
Payphone
another...
or
No,
regular-
this has been cellular phones. Were
we
you
had
on that
moved
call?
on. No, I was not.
Or was it in the room or was it on the phone?
We had messed around with it in the room, but then you guys refined it on the phone.
Wait, it was Neil.
Neil?
I think it must have been me, Holney, and Neil on the phone then.
Right.
And we were contemplating several names. Neil just blurts out, why don't we just call it Beer Shark Mice? And it was just that moment of course, that's exactly it. There are no candidates left. It will be called Beer Shark Mice. It's the perfect name, and we can't
was it.
debate this further.
Right. That was it. Because I know Finn wanted to call it beer tickets.
Beer tickets.
Yeah.
Oh, because like a promotional thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's all I remember. I was good with whatever name people came up with.
But Beer
So-
Shark Mice
Beer
was
tickets.
perfect.
So proposed, passed, resolved in all in one
Yes.
Yes.
motion.
One brilliant flash.
We weren't going to get hung up on any.
That's great. That's the way to
name.
do it.
And we haven't agreed on anything outside of the group since.
Since then, that was your last unanimous decision.
Right, and just as a coda to this whole thing, that first rehearsal devolved into just drinking, and I think that people wrestling on the living room floor of Dave's new house on Babcock and Magnolia,
Yeah.
right
Yes.
by the Foxfire.
We
So
don't-
that's how you start an improv.
Hey,
group.
Yeah,
kids.
there you go. That's it.
Some wood glue, some temerity,
And a country western jukebox.
country western jukebox.
Make sure there's carpeting if you want to wrestle, and drink at your first rehearsal.
Drink heavily at your first rehearsal.
I think I heard a name in here. Disposable Jazz should be a name for
Well, there you
improv.
Yeah.
But thank you, David Koechner and Mike Coleman from Beer Shark Mice for
Thanks for
coming
having
and
us, fellas.
talking.
Thanks, guys.
Talking to us. Thank you so much, guys.
Excellent.
Appreciate it.
We love talking about ourselves.
Improv. Thank you.
I will
guys.
say this. I will say this. when I started doing improv 30 years ago, one of my passions was talking about it. And I would say I still have nearly the same degree of passion talking about it. So,
And I'll say this: the people that are really, really good at it, that I enjoy watching and have performed with, also have this super passionate and love of really good rock and roll, and the hunger to hear new good rock and roll. I don't know. It's this crossover between people who are in that aficionado kind of like thing.
Yeah, it's still. I mean, I've seen more improv shows than I've seen bands, and I've seen more improv shows than I've seen movies. Yeah. I mean, it's my favorite form of entertainment. Even more than than a baseball game, a movie, or a band. I've seen more improv shows than I've done any one of those particular things.
do you guys normally do this two by two? Like always have two?
No, this is our first. We just
the second one we've ever done.
This is the
I
second
can
one we've
tell
ever
you
done.
that Holney will not be happy that he was not part of this conversation. So
So Holney's getting his own
Oh,
show.
he's
love it.
He said he would only do by himself.
Did he really?
No, I'm just joking. I'm just joking.
you should at some point have every member, and
We
it's
will.
probably better to do a 2 by 2 or a 1 by 1. That way everybody gets to talk.
Oh, that's a great idea.
That's great. See the,
And then
the different
when
versions of stories.
when you go through everybody, then invite all 6 of us in and see
For a
what.
real
Yep,
fuck around.
yep.
Yeah, because really we're just massing these things, into a big thing. So it's like the great pairing is Pete and Neil.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a winner right there.
That's good. We should. That'll be.
Because the way they antagonize each other has just got to be beheld.
Unhand me. My diminutive friend.
And I would say lavalier mics for that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
We could
these
get
don't
those.
get destroyed.
Yeah.
They wrestle a lot.
Oh, that's great.
Someone's going to get hurt someday.
Oh my god.
I will strike you.
Is that still going?
the-
All right.
Are we cut? No.
I have to go to the bathroom.
Thank you. So yeah, just right
Thanks
here.